Coach, another big win against Virginia. What was it like to finally pull one out of Klockner? It had been a while.
It was great, with a young lacrosse team, at least experience-wise, to go down there, play on grass for the first time, and get out of there for our first win since 2004. It was a real bonus for us. Not only was it a good win for the team, I think that we only have 4 other ACC opponents, so to get one of those, our first one with a win, it will help us going down the road here.
Yeah, could do have won already 25% of your league schedule, and the first midfield line's really stepped up for you with all new guys on that group. How have they come together as they have so fast this year?
Well, I think they're all students of the game. They've all worked very hard. Mariano obviously transferring in from UMass has been a big help. Paroli is not, hasn't been healthy yet, but he's getting ready to come back. I think that'll help us going forward here. DeJoe has really stepped up. Sergio has just improved immensely through his hard work. So I think it's these guys have put a lot of time in themselves to become better lacrosse players.
And lastly, for me, Coach, I'll ask you about St. John's here. They're a team that's 1-5 short, but they were up 7-1 on Yale the other night before giving that one away late. But what stands out about the St. John's team this year?
Well, almost like last year's team when we played them, they had some losses coming into that game, but they played some really good opponents, tough. I mean, they're up 7-1 on Yale, and Yale's one of the top teams in the country. So I think that the tough part for us is this could be somewhat of a trap game. We're coming off a big ACC game. We've really got to get our guys to understand who they are and that we've got to come ready to play because they're definitely coming to the Carrier Dome to try to win the game.
What's the update on Paroli?
We hope that he's going to start practicing next week. Mm-hmm.
Coach, 5 guys scored 2 or more goals on Saturday or Friday. Can you just talk about the depth of your team and what it's been like to not just rely on Dylan to score so many goals every game?
Yeah, we have to, that's who we are. We have to share the ball. We've got to spread it out. We've never been one to really rely on just one player, and we can't put that on Dylan's shoulders. He's been great for us as far as helping run the offense. You can tell by the assists that he's getting. He's finding the open players, and guys know that if they move off the ball that he'll get it to them. But guys have stepped up. We've had, I think we've done well in the man-up situations. I think we were 3 of 4, and the fourth one in that game we didn't have an opportunity because they won the face-off. So basically we were 3 and 3. That has helped us. These guys have fit in pretty well, and a lot of guys are taking turns stepping up. So it's good to see.
And you guys were up 4 or 5 goals in the fourth quarter, and you had to hang on, once again. Can you just talk about what are some of the things that you guys can do to help make sure that you hold these leads and make sure you don't have to hold on to them?
Well, I'll put a little of that on myself because I think Virginia's at their home field. They started to win some face-offs, and normally I don't get too anxious with the timeouts. In tight games, 2 timeouts to have at the end of the game. We only get 2.5. So to burn one of them in that stretch, I don't always like to do. Normally, I think Ben would pick up 1 or 2 of those face-offs, and we'd have the ball. We could settle the offense down and keep it away from Virginia. They were hot with that, and we had some turnovers against it. So I eventually had to take one, but having to do over again, I probably would have taken one a little bit earlier.
So what are some of those things that you guys can do on the field to help make sure you win games, against St. John's before going back-to-back on the road once again?
Well, I think that, one of the stats that popped at us was the turnovers. And I think that we had a fair amount of turnovers. Not totally unexpected our first time on the grass. We've talked about that going in there. We hadn't even practiced on grass before, and the ball bounces differently. It hits little clumps of dirt or turf. And there's no way you can practice that. So again, happy to get the win. We got to get out on grass one of these days. Hopefully it'll dry up for us. But I just think taking better care of the ball, which we tend to do in the Carrier Dome.
And my last question for you, Coach, would be: Ben and Jordan mentioned that this team that they think is stronger than last year's team, even though you guys lost a lot of experience. What have you noticed from this team chemistry-wise so far, just 4 games in?
I think the biggest thing is the individual hard work. All these guys have worked very hard in the off season. A lot of them stayed here over the semester break. I think they went home for the holiday, but a lot of them came back to stay in the weight room and the strength and conditioning and shooting on the goals in Manley Fieldhouse and out here. So I think it's really everybody's individual hard work is starting to pay off. Anytime you lose 5 or 6, players, a lot of them All-Americans, it's hard to replace. So we're happy with the progress so far. We've got to keep getting better. We've got to do better on the ground balls and the turnovers that we did a game ago. But the guys are doing a good job, knock on wood.
With Tim Barber, at attack the past few games, I guess, how does that maybe change the dynamic of the offense?
Well, when we had Paroli, he was on attack, and then Barber gave us that, that 1-2-3 punch in the midfield. So it was a little scary moving him down because you want to be able to take advantage of the other team's short sticks. You got to be able to dodge those guys. So we thought we were going to be down, one short player, but with Joe and Sergio stepping up and Mariano, that's really helped us a lot to be able to keep him down there.